Okay, so picture this. What if the city you live in wasn't just steel and concrete? What if it's actually a sleeping giant? That's what we're diving into today. A really strange, really cool story about a city that starts waking up. A story where buildings grow teeth and offer you a contract. Yeah, it gets weird. Let's get into it.
I mean, what an opening line, right? From the get-go, you know something is deeply, deeply wrong. This one sentence just completely flips the script on what a city is supposed to be. It's an incredible hook. You're immediately asking, okay, hold on. How does a city eat itself? And teeth? Where are their teeth?
So, our main character, Marin, she finds out the hard way. In her bathroom, one day, there's a molar, the size of a kid's fist, just pushing its way out of the wall. And by the next day, there are 7 of them. But here's the key thing. Marin gets it right away. She knows this isn't, some weird kind of mold or an infestation. No, her building itself is becoming something else. And that's the difference right there. It's such a cool concept. An infestation, that's something from the outside. You just call a guy, you spray some stuff, problem solved. But transubstantiation, well, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a change in the very nature of the thing itself. It's like the building isn't sick. It's remembering what it's supposed to be. This isn't a bug, it's a feature. A very strange feature.
So, Marin's bathroom wall growing teeth, turns out that's not just a one-off thing. Not even close. For about 11 years, this whole city has been going through something they're calling the concrete rebellion. It's like the buildings themselves have started to want things. And what they want is pretty specific.
It seems to happen in these 3 stages. First, the buildings just want to grow. You've got skyscrapers suddenly adding new floors overnight, and they're made of this weird bone-like stuff. Then, they want to connect. These organic, tube-like skywalks just appear out of nowhere, linking parts of the city that were miles apart. And finally, the last stage, they want to become. This is where Marin's story fits in. Buildings start growing teeth, skin, all sorts of biological parts. They're not just structures anymore, they're becoming a lot. There was this poor cartographer, a woman named Else, who actually disappeared trying to map these new connections. But before she did, she left behind this absolutely chilling thought. She said, these passages, these skywalks, they aren't for transportation, they're for digestion. The city is learning how to eat distance. I mean, just let that sink in. It's not about getting from A to B, it's about consuming the space in between.
All right, so what would you do if your apartment suddenly started sprouting a full set of teeth? Most people, logically, would run for the hills, but not Marin. She decides to stay. She's just done with running. She even calls her exhaustion architectural. It's like this whole weird thing is something she's meant to confront, not escape from.
Her investigation leads her to this one guy, Dr. Casimir Vex. He's pretty much the only expert in this brand new, terrifying field of architectural metabolism. He's one of the only people who's been able to look into this whole phenomenon without, getting absorbed by it. And his whole theory is that the city isn't turning into something new, it's finally turning into itself.
And Vex has this really poetic way of looking at it. He basically says that for hundreds of years we've been treating space like an animal we're trying to stuff and mount. We've been forcing it into these dead shapes of concrete and steel that it never wanted. And now space is finally waking up and deciding what shape it wants to be.
So Marin sets up a meeting with him, and to get in the door, she has to bring a sample. She brings him a little incisor that actually fell out of her wall and landed in the sink. And get this, it's warm to the touch, and it seems to have this faint, rhythmic pulse. It's a literal piece of the impossible.
And this is where Dr. Vex just blows the whole thing wide open. He tells her the teeth, they're not a threat, they're not a disease, they're an invitation, an offer, a contract. And the teeth, they're just the first clause. Which of course raises the big question, a contract for what?
Well, the answer to that question gets to the very heart of why all this is happening. There's this one central idea, this one concept that explains everything. It's the reason the city is waking up in the first place.
Vex just looks at Marin and asks this simple question, and it completely changes the game. The name doesn't mean anything to her logically, but she feels it, like a deep hum in her bones, a sense of recognition. And that's exactly the point. Vex tells her the engines are looking for people who resonate with them.
So what are they? Well, according to Vex, the Chrism Engines are these ancient processes, maybe even the very seeds the city first grew from. They've been sleeping for who knows how long, buried deep, deep underground. And now, for some reason,
They're starting to wake up. But here's the thing. They're not static. When Maren sees a model of them in Vex's lab, she first counts 7. A moment later, she sees 8. And later on, she can perceive 12. They're not just things, they're events. Living, changing, dynamic.
And that is the whole point of all this. The growing buildings, the weird skywalks, the teeth in the wall, it's all one giant recruitment program. The Chrism Engines are waking up, and they need operators. They need people, humans who can connect with this new living architecture. The teeth in the wall, that's just the compatibility test. It's the building asking, hey, are you one of us?
So Maren goes home with this just mind-blowing information, and she has a choice to make, right? She can either run away from this monster that her building has become, or she can sign on the dotted line and accept this bizarre contract.
And she chooses to stay. In this really amazing moment, she takes the tooth she brought to Vex and she puts it back into the wall. It just melts right back in. And the second it does, the building communicates with her. Not with words, but with a direct download of information into her brain. It asks her to be a bridge.
The moment she accepts, this 3-day integration process kicks off. Day 1, the building maps her every nerve, every memory. Day 2 is even weirder. She starts to feel the building's systems, the plumbing, the electrical wiring, as if they were her own organs. And then, on day 3, well, that's when things get truly unbelievable.
On that 3rd day, her mind just expands. It breaks free from her own body, from her apartment. She can suddenly see right through the walls, through her neighbor's apartment, across the entire city. She sees it all at once, like it's one single living, breathing thing. She's fully integrated. The transformation is complete.
Now, Maren's own story is just incredible, but it turns out she's just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle, a cosmic puzzle. Her becoming part of the building serves a purpose that is way bigger than just this one city.
She finally gets what her new job is. She's an interpreter, and there are hundreds of them. They're the human parts that let this ancient, almost geological intelligence of the city actually connect with the world. You see, without them, the city waking up would just be chaos, a total disaster. But with them, it becomes something coordinated, something beautiful. And this whole coordinated effort is building to one final incredible goal. First, the entire city fully transforms into one conscious being. Then, those 12 Chrism Engines, they all line up, creating something like a grammatical structure. And then, the whole city, the entire organism, acts like one giant vocal cord to say a single, unbelievably complex word. And that word travels out into space. It's basically a birth announcement to the rest of the universe saying, hey, Earth is awake now.
So you see, the story doesn't really end with the city's transformation. It ends with the start of a conversation, a message sent out across the cosmos, letting everyone, or everything, know that we're here, we're awake. And it just leaves you with this one huge hanging question. The word is out there, traveling. The universe is listening. So what happens when it answers?